Dr. Ai Fen, at Wuhan Central Hospital was first to discover the origin of COVID-19. She handled the first patients with the disease. Ai Fen discovered from the lab results that COVID could not have came from the wet markets. She, like any doctor, interviewed her patients. This is when the discovery was made. The first cases were lab workers who worked at Wuhan's bio-research buildings. She learned that it was improper safety, disinfection and improper PPE. Lab workers came in contact with the urine and feces from the horseshoe bat. This species of bat is used to study SARS and other COVID strains in the labs. This is why, early in this documentary, China's infrastructure and lack of safety had to be shown first. This is an actual report, not a conspiracy theory, but concrete proof. The virus did escape from a lab in Wuhan. Her report, in collaboration with other doctors in South China, written in Mandarin. In English, 2 reports, one from Gravitas and from Tucker Carlson of Fox News.
Our cover story tonight is about a doctor in Wuhan. You've probably not heard of her, because her story has been hidden by the mighty dragon. Hidden until it got out. We are talking about Dr. Ai Fen. She's the director of the emergency department at the Wuhan Central Hospital. She's also the reason why the world found out about China's cover-up. She was perhaps the first doctor to order tests on the early coronavirus patients. And now she has gone missing. The latest reports claim that her whereabouts are unknown now. Why is this doctor so important? Why must her story be told? Because Dr. Ai Fen has ruffled the feathers of the Communist Party of China. Not only did she find the virus, she even spoke about it in China. Last month, she gave an interview to a Chinese magazine. The government did not like it. The interview created fresh trouble for Beijing. It also became proof of China's cover-up because Dr. Ai Fen had revealed it all. She told the world how China knew about the coronavirus way back in December and how China did nothing to stop it. Dr. Ai Fen said all of this in her interview. She said that she was not the whistleblower. She was the one who gave the whistle. Tonight on Gravitas, we have for you the Ai Fen revelations. We've been investigating her claims. We've also reported on some of her assessments in the past. And now we have accessed a copy of Dr. Ai Fen's interview. This was removed from the internet by the Chinese censors. The interview is the smoking gun, the proof of China's cover-up. This is what it says. Dr. Ai Fen was in her hospital when the patients walked in. It was a disease that no other doctor had seen before. The patients were showing flu-like symptoms, but usual treatment methods were not working on them. So Dr. Ai Fen, she was treating some of the patients herself, and she decided to carry out some tests. The result, she said, was shocking. The report called it a SARS coronavirus. Now, the interview says that Dr. Ai Fen read the report several times to confirm it. Her conclusion did not change. She said that she broke out in a cold sweat. She knew an unprecedented challenge was staring at her. Dr. Ai Fen circled the diagnosis. She took a photograph of the report and she shared it with a friend. Soon the report was circulated across Wuhan's medical circles. Other doctors began talking about this new virus, this mysterious disease. One of them was Dr. Li Wenliang, the man on your screen. He too received this report. And he's now known as the first whistleblower. Dr. Ai Fen gave him the whistle, as she puts it. He shared her report further. Soon it emerged on the radar of the Chinese censors. They found out what was being circulated, and this is where the cover-up begins. Dr. Li was pulled up by Chinese officials for sharing the report. He was accused of spreading rumors. And then the Chinese police tracked down Dr. Ai Fen as the source. They told her to stay quiet. First, she received a warning. Her hospital told her to not spread this information. 2 days later, she was called before her hospital's disciplinary inspection committee. She was accused of spreading rumors. She was reprimanded. Disciplinary action for raising concerns. Dr. Ai Fen tried to warn her seniors. She tried to raise an alarm about the Wuhan virus, but her voice was muzzled. The interview says that she knew about human-to-human transmission, but no one listened to her. Instead of acting on her report, the Wuhan Central Hospital joined the government's cover-up. The staff was forbidden from passing messages or images about this virus. A few months later, Dr. Ai Fen got a chance to speak again. Her interview was published in a Chinese magazine called People, and this time, she did not hold anything back. She told everything that she knew, and now nobody knows where she is. Gone missing for reporting on the Wuhan virus.
And speaking of the Chinese government, on February 6, scientists from the South China University of Technology uploaded a paper on the origins of coronavirus. Where did it come from? Well, this offers some clue. At the time, the official death toll in China from the coronavirus was 564. The paper made a number of notable observations and claims that are worth knowing about, and that's why we're telling you. We want to be clear that we're not endorsing any of these conclusions. We haven't independently confirmed them. We can't. But you should keep in mind as you hear this that these findings come from Chinese scientists who work for a university that is controlled by the Chinese government. So whatever else they are, the views you're about to hear are probably not racist anti-Chinese propaganda. Here's what the paper says. First, the scientists confirm what scientists around the world have said they believe. The virus most likely came from an animal known as the intermediate horseshoe bat. Here's the striking thing. There are no known colonies of this bat within 900 kilometers of Wuhan. Nor is there any evidence that they were sold in the Wuhan wet market, despite many claims in the American media to the contrary, including on this show, by the way. Last night we did a segment on wet markets, the one in Wuhan included, and suggested that this bat was sold there. But let's be clear. The only actual analysis of that question that we're aware of is in this paper. These scientists interviewed almost 60 people, 59 of them, who frequented the Wuhan wet market. They confirmed there were no horseshoe bats for sale there, period. So that raises the question, where did the virus-carrying bats come from? And the paper says this, quote, "We screened the area around the market and identified 2 laboratories conducting research on bat coronavirus. Within a few hundred yards of the wet market was something called the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention. According to public reports, the center used intermediate horseshoe bats for research. Then about 7 miles away was another facility. This one was called the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Virology Institute also conducted research on intermediate horseshoe bats, the ones that were not sold at the wet market. South China University scientists concluded that the coronavirus pandemic, the one that people are dying from here, likely came from one of these 2 government labs in Wuhan. They noticed that a scientist at the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention had been exposed to the blood and urine of horseshoe bats. They also suggested that infected tissue samples from research animals may have wound up in the Wuhan wet market. And they ended the paper this way, quote, "The killer coronavirus probably originated from a laboratory in Wuhan. Safety levels may need to be reinforced in high-risk biohazardous laboratories. Regulations may be taken to relocate these laboratories far away from city centers and other densely populated places." End quote. How's that for interesting? Now, this paper has been online for nearly 2 months, and so far it has been virtually ignored in this country. Almost nobody in American journalism has dared to write about it. The few who have were immediately attacked as dangerous conspiracy theorists. Instead of assessing what seemed like the rational conclusions presented in the Chinese paper, there was a spate of American news stories and academic research designed to show that the coronavirus absolutely could not have been engineered in a Chinese lab. They sounded supremely confident of that. But do they really know it? And the answer is no, they don't. As a factual matter, it is impossible for Western scientists to settle the question either way. So instead of doing that or admitting that, they amped up the rhetoric, hoping that you wouldn't notice the difference. A post on the National Institutes of Health website, written by NIH Director Francis Collins himself, dismisses any such speculation as, quote, outrageous. Keep in mind, NIH is supposed to be keeping you safe from diseases like this one, not running political interference for hostile foreign governments. This is how they're spending their time as Americans die in the middle of a global pandemic. And still, no one addressed the substance of the claims. The South China University paper concludes that the virus probably escaped accidentally from a lab in Wuhan. It said not one word about bioweapons. Yet the NIH and USA Today and countless other outlets have devoted thousands of words to scolding you for thinking the virus may have been a form of biological warfare. Notice that's a totally different claim than the one made in the paper. And that's not accidental. One of the surest signs that people are lying to you is when they answer questions you didn't ask. And that's exactly what the professional class is doing with this story. And they're doing it on many fronts. They're lying to you. They're claiming to know things they don't know. They're dismissing the obvious as impossible. They're blaming you for their failures. And the media are helping them do it. The stakes are too high to let them continue this way. So no matter what, stay skeptical as you assess the world. Remain rational. Gather your own evidence and come to your own conclusions. You shouldn't have to do that. You ought to be able to trust the people in charge. But you can't. So at this point,
IFN first told Li Wenliang of her discovery. Li, a Chinese ophthalmologist who worked as a physician at Wuhan Central Hospital, Li warned his colleagues in December 2019 about a possible outbreak of an illness that resembled severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, later acknowledged as COVID-19. The Chinese reprimanded the doctor, and the police jailed him. He contracted coronavirus. While incarcerated by police, he died from the virus. The government of China later apologizes to his family, saying the police was too zealous and overreacted. Radio Free Asia did an interview with IFN. She discussed her findings on the novel coronavirus, and how it was lack of safety protocols causing the outbreak. Soon after the show aired, I's account on the Twitter-like platform Weibo sent out a single, cryptic post, a photo taken from Wuhan's Jihan Road, a river, a bridge, a road, a clock chime. The post read, "No one has heard from her since. She has been silenced, but she left this crucial message to be understood. We have decrypted her post. A river, a bridge, a road, a clock chime is no other than the fully functional replica of the London Bridge, built in Suzhou, China. It is over a river and it is the main road into Suzhou, and the bridge replica has clock chimes." Now, some of you are wondering what this means. WuXi AppTec, one of China's largest biomedical companies, they have a lab in Wuhan, and, in Suzhou. WuXi has expanded. In Suzhou, her message was meant to tell which lab the virus leaked out from. The other take, from decoding her cryptic message, IFN therefore silenced, gave us the loudest whistle of all, naming where the accident happened. Never rush to judgment. Think for yourselves, as we have a fight for our very lives. The life of our country is in our hands.